Hey Trails Collective, Ian here with the Results and Voices episode for the week ending April 2nd, 2021. This is a follow-up to the earlier episode where I gave you a rundown of events that are now open and about to cap and coming up, and a shout out to a couple media pieces. Another mention here to catch up with us this Thursday for our TC Live at 8 p.m. on our YouTube and Facebook channels. I'll be catching up with speedster Ben Robinson. Ben is a pretty stellar runner, and from what I know, individual. So definitely check that out, 8 p.m. This Thursday, April 1st. And definitely tune in with comments or questions. It's definitely good to have that engagement. And spread the word if you can. Share that on your feeds. You can find the event on our Facebook channel. Check it out. All right, so getting into some of the individuals and events that ran this past weekend. I'll shoot you through a handful of the FKTs that were at least posted up so far. It's earlier in the week, so I'll probably miss a couple that'll get posted later, but I'll give you a few. And then we'll get into the events that ran, as well as some of the individuals that I was able to catch up with and hear from on those events. All right, on the FKT front. In Connecticut, Scott and Debi Livingston back out for another date running session. This round setting a new mixed gender team mark of 7 hours, 3 minutes for the beautiful looking 27-mile Taconic Rim through Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New York. That one wasn't on my radar before. I'm definitely looking forward to maybe checking that out or going for a run on it at some point. In Delaware, Mike Wardian back on the boards, covering the 16.5-mile Cape Henlopen Trails Loop in 1 hour and 58 minutes there in Delaware. In Pennsylvania, I kind of misspelled your name here and I forget what it was. Something Ahlswede. Set a new mark of 22-mile on the Pinchot Trail in 3 hours, 34 minutes, lowering Michael Daigeaun's time from 2017 by 13 minutes. So nice work to you. And yeah. In Virginia, Barbara McMullen set a women's supported mark of 21 hours, 27 minutes for a double or out and back on the 45-mile Washington and Old Dominion Trail. That is a pretty good stretch. Nice work, Barbara. All right, and then on the event front, running on March 27th, the Big Woods Half Marathon. It was an inaugural event put on by the Batona Trail Crew, run at French Creek, my hometown trail, so to speak, park in PA. Of the 170 finishers, Mark Polea took the inaugural win in 1 hour, 39 minutes and 8 seconds, with Connor Smith literally on his heels in 1 hour, 39:30. Top female spot went to the wicked fast Karen Dunn in 1 hour and 56 minutes. And I was able to check in with Karen on the event and day. And thanks for this clip, Karen. Cue us into the inaugural Big Woods.
Hi there, my name is Karen Dunn. I just ran the Big Woods Trail Half Marathon this past Saturday at French Creek State Park, and it was a great race. I thought it was really well put on by Batona Trail Races, probably the first trail race I did sponsored by them, and I think it was really well run. It was a great course, great weather, and just overall a really great day. So a little bit about myself. For the last probably 5 to 6 years, have been primarily a road marathoner. One of my more aggressive goals was to qualify for the Olympic trials, the Olympic marathon trials, and I was successful in doing so in Chicago 2019, where I ran a 2:43:59. That was good enough to meet the 2:45 standard to go to trials, which I ran in February of 2020. That was a really tough goal. It was years in the making, years of hard work. There's another story that goes with that, so I won't bore you with that one today, but just giving you a little bit of background on myself. And I've been running really my whole life since 7th grade. Still, like I said, this last 5 to 6 years has primarily been road marathoning, and just the way my path had led me, naturally, it kind of took me away from being able to run the trails, which is something I've always wanted to do, something I always did a little bit of, but more recently, I've really shifted my focus from road marathoning to running trails and ultra races. So my training is specifically focused now on those types of races, including training for Cayuga. I'm running the 50 miler, and that's coming up this spring here soon. So this past weekend, that was really kind of a test to see where I am currently, how my training's going, and coming in with the women's overall finish. I feel like training's going well. It's a good indicator of the direction of my training. So pretty happy with that. And again, really loved the course. There were parts, there's some good climbs in there. It was very technical, a lot of rocks, lots of roots. But then there were also some very runnable sections where you could really hit your stride, kick up that pace a little bit again, and just getting a nice rhythm. So it was a course that was really dynamic. Like I said, you had those climbs, you had the technical parts, but then you also had those very runnable pieces. And gotta say, I love the finish. Once you come through after that second aid station at Shed Road and come through past the campground and whatnot back to the finish line, it's pretty much a downhill finish, which I don't see a lot of downhill finishes. So for me, that was a lot of fun to be able to just unwind. And then the final stretch was flat. So coming off that downhill and then hitting the flat, I found that difficult too, to let those muscles switch gears again and, just kind of kick it up a notch and give it all you have through the finish. So great race, well organized, and I felt really safe being the environment that we're in these days with the pandemic. It was really well put on. So great race, great course, awesome day. And if you're interested in talking with me any more about your race goals or your running background, I am also a VDOT certified running coach, as well as an RRCA level 2 running coach and ACE certified personal trainer, which I like my ACE certification. It gives me the ability to really incorporate strength, mobility, balance, single leg strength into my runner's performance. So it's like strength training for performance in your running. But if you're interested in talking with me any more about your goals, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me. My email is kdunn@strengthenyourstride.coach, or you can go onto my website, strengthenyourstride.coach. And on my website, if you click on the button that says consult or book now, you can go to my calendar and schedule time with me at a time that works for you. All right, so I'd love to hear from you guys, and thanks so much for the opportunity to talk about my background and my race on Saturday, and just kind of the change for me and going from marathon running on the roads to those longer, more grueling races on the trails, the beautiful trails. So thanks so much.
All right, also running Miocene Epic, a 6-hour event run using the beautiful 5-mile loop along the shores of beautiful Chesapeake Bay in Lusby, Maryland. Of 69 finishers, the top men's spot went to Matt Dieselmeyer with 41.6 miles. And on the women's side, Michaela Shremshock with 36.4 miles. So nice work all. The Dogwood Ultras, this was one that ran in Virginia, and they don't have the results yet posted up yet on Ultra Sign Up, so we'll have to follow up on that one. But they had 10-mile, 12-hour, 12-hour night, and 24-hour options. Hope you all had a good weekend down there. And let's see, Spring on the Trails endurance runs. The inaugural Spring on the Trails 3-hour, 6-hour ran in LaGrangeville, New York. In the 3-hour, Ryan Carney took the overall win in 24.8 miles, with Emily Layden for the women in 18.6 miles. In the 6-hour, Nicholas Mamrick took the overall win in 43.4 miles, and Capri May for the women in 37.2 miles. I think Capri might be in my Cayuga Trails lineup for the end of May. So Capri, it looks like you are running pretty solid and in good fitness. So nice work. And I was able to check in with the Connecticut Trail Mixer's Michael Lepresti. I believe, if I remember right, and I may be getting this wrong, he may be one of the RDs or co-RDs or organizers for Trap Rock event on the event and day. So Michael, thanks for getting back to us and cue us into the inaugural Spring on the Trails endurance runs.
Hi, this is Michael Lepresti from the CT Trail Mixers Running Club. Like so many of you, I'm excited to finally start turning the corner of the pandemic for many reasons, not the least of which is the chance to get back into group runs and racing with our friends again. That was probably the most exciting aspect of this past weekend's race, the Spring on the Trails endurance run, hosted by our friends at Conquer the World Endurance and held in LaGrangeville, New York this past Sunday. It was just a really good chance to spend time in the woods with people that we care about, to get that race camaraderie that only comes with when you're cheering your friends on and standing at the starting line together, and that excitement that comes on race day. I know for me and a lot of other people, it was a good chance as the first race in the season for a lot of us to test our endurance and see how our chops are as we plan for other races later in the spring into the summer as well. So. It was organized around two events. There was a 3-hour race and a 6-hour race. Both races were held on the same roughly 3-mile loop, very pretty loop with a little bit of rolling hills, mostly runnable the entire time. The 6-hour race started at around 8:30 in the morning, and the 3-hour race started a few minutes later. It was all very COVID safe, with everyone having masks and hand sanitizer available and spacing out, so it was a really well-organized, safe environment. Part of the big news of the day was the weather. We'd all been watching the forecast for fear of the rain showers that were coming through, but luckily there's a big difference between starting off in dry and start off in heavy rain, and luckily we start off in dry weather. The rain actually held out for the first 2 hours, and the course was quite runnable during that time. The rain started coming in around 10:30 and was steady for an hour or two, and then kind of went on and off for the balance of the race. The course became very muddy and very slick in spots, and I heard more than one story of people sliding down hills on their butts or wiping out on the slopes when there was an angle in the trail. But people kept it going, and it was great seeing people loop after loop and people passing me and just having a great time out on the trails. So the longer race ended 6 hours later, and it was a very successful day. Thanks to our friends at Conquer the World Endurance for pulling together a great race. I believe it was the first time they'd held this one. It was a fun course, and I know many of us will want to come back next year. So good start to the early racing season on the trails.
All right, and the one that I was at near where I grew up, the Naked Prussian and Bavarian merged this past weekend after the Bavarian was pushed back from February, secondary to the amount of snow on the trails. And this is an event put on by the awesome, really great community trail entity, which is Uber Endurance Sports. Puts on a number of really just great events in Pennsylvania. And we had a beautiful day on the trail surrounding Blue Marsh in Leesport, just outside of Reading. For myself, I just kind of crumbled final miles.
Yeah, man.
I continually
Beautiful day.
Often will take out races a little too hot.
Sorry,
this one was probably taking it out maybe 15 seconds per mile. A little quick through the first opening half marathon or so.
Good job.
Felt really comfortable, but it was just probably a little quick. And then I really just didn't care to be paying attention to eating or fueling or any of that, and it got pretty warm. So my day kind of turned to a very slow walk shuffle, but that's all right. It's always nice just to be out there on those trails. It really is beautiful. And it was cool to catch up with friends from home as well as volunteers and entrants out on the course. So how it went down. I think they had record numbers out there. I don't know total, but there was probably maybe like 700 people across 4 different distances or something to that effect. Really good turnout.
Great job.
And it just seemed like a pretty smooth production for as much as was going on with 4 different distances. Of 177 finishers in the 20-mile in the Naked Bavarian, top spots went to Eric Pindrock in 2:36 and Christina Wellen in 3:15 for the women. In the 40-mile, young buck Benjamin Lane, who I think I happened to catch up with on a quick pre-event video clip. Took the overall win in 5:19. I think Ben, if I remember right, if I'm placing you correctly, is building up to the Bear 100 in September. And that's pretty solid fitness so far, Ben. Nice work. And flying through for a big new course record for the women, friend Riley Brady in 5:51. Riley just caught her in passing as she was leaving for loop 2. Just looked smooth, as if she was just starting, and she looked really solid here at the finish, which I'll plug a clip of her coming in. And Riley, thanks for following back up and connecting. Give us a rundown on how that day went down.
Yeah, sorry.
Hi, I'm Riley. I raced the Naked Bavarian this past weekend. It was a really nice, mostly flat, kind of rolling course with a lot of runnable single track, which is awesome. That really caters to my preferences and strengths. It was the most perfect weather that we've had kind of all year. So the result was that, at least for me, I was running in the warmest weather that I have. I haven't been in shorts and a t-shirt yet this year, and I was for the race, which was awesome. My dad was actually dumping water on my head when I came into the aid stations. So I ended up feeling really good out there. It was nice to race for the first time in over a year. The course had a couple sort of out and back sections. It was almost like a lollipop. So I got to see a few familiar and friendly faces, and it's always fun to cheer people on when you pass them, obviously, in a race, going both directions. I started off just trying to keep things mostly easy, and then was feeling good, so I picked it up a little bit. But I've been struggling with a stitch in my side for about a year on and off now, and that started to rear its head, I want to say a little bit before the halfway point. So I tried to push through that. That wasn't working. I slowed it down a little bit. I stopped to stretch it out a couple of times. Eventually, probably around the 3/4 of the way through, it finally seemed to work itself out, and I was able to pick up the pace again, so it was really nice to be able to finish strong. I was definitely ready to be done at that point. But yeah, I've got a couple races on the schedule coming up, a few with Ian's Red Newt Racing. I'm gonna do Breakneck coming up next, and then I've got Cayuga Trails 50, which I'm really excited about. I've raced that event several times in the past. I think it's just a really beautiful course. My best friend lives in Ithaca, so it's almost like a hometown race, even though it's not really my hometown. And then I've got Vermont 100 on the calendar, which has rolled over from 2 years ago, I believe, or whatever. I was supposed to race it last summer, but obviously because of COVID, it was canceled. And that's really my A goal race for the season. I would really, really like to try to run fast at Vermont 100. I love that race. Amy puts on a fantastic event. The volunteers are awesome there. The community is really great. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's all I've got.
And for the Naked Prussian Marathon, Byron Critchfield took the overall win in a commanding 3:14 with Hazel Carr running her first race, doing so phenomenally, taking the win for the women in 3:42 and finishing, I think it was third overall. Hazel came up at the last aid station that I was at, and I did get some video clip from her, but the GoPro settings got all jacked up. So Hazel, I wasn't able to get those clips, but she looked great. And then in the 50 mile, Graham Pete threw down for a solid 7:19 win, with the bankably solid Kathleen Kuzik nabbing the top female spot in 9:34. All right, so that's what we have for you this week. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to all of you who, I guess, share our channel in your own communities, share the videos, like the videos. All of it helps. To the Patreon supporters out there and those who may become Patreon supporters out there, thank you so very much. So again, thanks for tuning in. I will catch up with you Thursday night if you're tuning in for that live episode with Ben Robinson. And otherwise, next week on the rundown, have a great rest of your week. Thanks so much. See ya.